Hey there, so today we're going to discuss my recommendations for those looking to get into science fiction for the first time or who are already in it and might be looking to watch something new or consume something new that they may not have before. Sci fi as a whole is a huge range of content. I mean, it can range everything from simplistic human society with like exactly one alien, for example, E.T. or the Iron Giant, to name a couple, to completely out of pocket sci fi universes like Warhammer 40,000 or Foundation, for example. It's a huge genre. There's so much to consume, there's so much to look at, and it goes from so many different angles. Some of it is, political, some of it is not. Some of it has deeper meaning, some of it's comedic. But in the end, sci fi as a whole is a genre that welcomes many, even if they don't realize they're in it. So, to start off simple, for those who are fans of horror, that's the first thing that comes to mind, because we are coming into spooky season. If you're a fan of horror, if you like, stuff that messes with your mind, makes you ask the question, what? It's kind of thriller, kind of slasher, along that vibe. I'm going to make a movie recommendation if you have not seen it already. Event Horizon. This movie, I promise you, if you're a fan of Warhammer 40,000 already as a sci-fi fan, you might like this one. Otherwise, if you're just a horror consumer in general, if you're a fan of horror but you're looking to like expand it, might be something space-based, Event Horizon. And on the video game aspect, Dead Space. If you haven't played those already. These two, personal recommendations from me. I cannot recommend them highly enough. I will warn you, I have not been able to complete this game, at least the first one. It scares the crap out of me. I will admit that. I try. There's a certain chapter that no. Otherwise, if you're looking for something that's a bit more toned down, not as horror, I would recommend the Alien series. Personally, start with these. Start with them in that order, particularly. The original Alien film, Aliens, then go back and watch Alien Romulus, because they kind of have like a bit of Easter eggs amongst each other. Watch Prometheus and Alien Covenant, if you want, and then watch the new show Alien Earth. They make this nice, beautiful, ongoing story. Now, here's the list of my recommended watch order, but here's also this list of the chronological order with, so it depends on how you want to consume them. You can either watch them in order, or you can watch them in the recommended order. It can go either way. Now, that's thriller, that's horror. What about if you like, kind of like that Game of Thrones vibe? You want maybe a show that's more drama-centered, political intrigue, has some action, has a lot of characters to follow, things like that. If you're looking for a show, I'm going to recommend Foundation. Foundation right now is still currently ongoing. It has a lot of story left to go, assuming Apple TV doesn't cancel it. That is also a drawback for some, by the way. I know it's Apple TV, but there are ways to watch things. Anyway. Foundation. Great show. Strongly recommend it. On the same spectrum, I would also recommend The Expanse. Now, I will tell you the difference between the two is one is based on a society like Earth, like us, if we just kept progressing with the space race to a degree. It's still set within the confines of our solar system. It doesn't go beyond our solar system, whereas Foundation is based on a classic book series which covers a spacefaring empire. It's a recommendation not just for the fact that it kind of covers the theme that you might be looking for, but it's also a good jumping in point if you want to help understand science fiction as a whole. Which, on a quick side tangent here, these three projects right here are foundational pillars of science fiction that have been converted into some form of media. Now, not all of these are of the equal quality, I will tell you right now. People have a love-hate relationship with this one. This one is absolutely phenomenal, and this one is an underappreciated gem in my eye. They're great. Now, yes, some of you may be chirping soon that yes, this particular movie franchise also was a pillar of sci-fi at one point, but it's been more comedic based than anything and satire. Still worth watching though if you want something that's comedy, classic, and more war based. Great watch. Now, on some other sides of some spectrums, if we look at sci-fi in the field of anime, I would recommend shows. They're going to be classics, by the way. They are not going to be new ones. Quick recommendation list: Robotech, Gundam, Gurren Lagann, Ghost in the Shell. Those are just to name a few. There are a lot more, especially Cowboy Bebop. And in some aspects, Trigun could be considered it, but it's extremely minimal on the spectrum, very tiny. These are some great recommendations from me if you want to get into the more anime themed version of sci-fi. Beyond that, if you're looking for maybe an animated film that's more adult oriented too, that's not as anime based, one recommendation that I'm going to give, I know the story is kind of predictable in some aspects, it's not the greatest, but it is an underappreciated gem as well, is Titan AE. It is a Don Bluth film, believe it or not. Unfortunately, I think it's his last too. There's a whole story behind that, but that's for another time. Great film. One of my personal favorites that I grew up with. I actually saw it in theaters when it came out. Great suggestion as far as I'm concerned. Now, beyond that, there are numerous video game series to get into if you are looking for one that you may not have experienced yet. If you've been living under a rock somehow and you haven't managed to get around to it, you have to play the Mass Effect series, specifically the trilogy. You can play Andromeda if you want. I will not turn you against that. I know that the gaming community has its opinions on the game. I personally enjoyed its story and its companions. So there are still 4 games currently, if you really want to. But if you had to pick, stick to the trilogy. Thankfully, Steam does have a version that I recommend called the Legendary Edition. This one here will have everything you need. It has all the DLCs. It even has some graphical enhancements. Please play that franchise if you haven't. Otherwise, if you're looking to expand your Star Wars horizons within sci-fi as well in video games, play the original Knights of the Old Republics 1 and 2. Phenomenal. Same with the Jedi Knight Academy series. Also phenomenal. These are older games, I will warn you. They're not going to be graphically intense, and they might run questionable on your PC, and if you're a console user, I'm not really sure, unfortunately, as to where you can get a hold of them. But if you can, wrongly advised to play these great games. Otherwise, TV shows. There are so many to talk about. I don't even know where to begin. I could tell you to go watch Star Trek. Star Trek is a very good series that you can start watching if you want something that's more Hope Core based, where it's character driven and focused, but also shows a vision of the future that is ideal, at least in my eyes, of where humanity could go. If you were to watch Star Trek, honestly, the best jumping in points, I think, for a more modern audience could be one of two directions. You can either go with Star Trek Discovery, controversial opinion, I know, for some. You can go with Star Trek Discovery if you want something that looks more modern, and then go from there to other shows. Or you can jump in with The Next Generation. The Next Generation would be a good jumping in point because you do The Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, Voyager, and then go back and watch Enterprise, and then just watch the series and its release order. That's one way to do it. There's no right or wrong way, personally. There's a lot of story to tell. There's a lot of story to cover. It's the same with Star Wars. You've got the chronological order, but you've also got the movie and media release order. It comes down ultimately, especially with anything, by the way, any of these topics, usually the release order is the one that's recommended the most, only because the release order allows you to experience Easter eggs and callback references that that come out later down the line. So if you want to be able to enjoy those personally yourself, you watch it in release order. But if you're more of a story-driven, I want to see everything in the order as it happens kind of stickler, watch it in chronological order. There are lots of lists online that will tell you how to help break things down, especially Star Wars, considering Star Wars is massive. There's so many movies and animated shows and series that all tie together that the story it would be a couple weeks worth of watching stuff just to even get through it all. And that's if you can manage to sit down long enough each day to consume. That set aside, some lesser known shows for some that I would recommend if you're looking for something more down to earth, not as alien based. The Expanse. I've mentioned it before, I'm pretty sure. Strong recommendation. The Expanse is a great show to watch. It sticks to science in many ways. There are inaccuracies. There is some kind of alien elements, but they're very minimal. It's worth watching. It is so good. It's so worth watching. On a lesser side than that, if you want to tone it down even more, there is another series on Apple TV. I have yet to watch this one myself, but I have been told it is great. It is a show called For All Mankind. The concept and principle behind this show is, what if the United States never stopped its space race? We did build a colony on the moon, that kind of vibe. That's another one worth watching, what I understand. Dial it up, obviously. Yes, Foundation, great show to watch. If you're looking for something cyberpunk themed, go watch Altered Carbon. There's only, I think, 2 seasons, unfortunately, and it's not as long as some shows probably should be, but it is a great cyberpunk sci-fi series. At least I enjoyed it, that is. Season 1 probably more than season 2, but that is for you to decide. Because I don't want to encourage either way. That being said, obviously there's a cyberpunk game, but if you also haven't seen it, I recommend heavily, if you're into cyberpunk's theme, watch the original Blade Runner and the second Blade Runner with Ryan Gosling. There is a third one I heard about that is in the works at this moment. I don't know when it's coming out. I haven't really looked too far into it, but I do know they're making another one. Great series. Otherwise, if you're looking for something a little bit more cheesy and definitely older, but it's kind of cyberpunk, but cyberpunk and sci-fi themed, there's also Total Recall. There's 2 versions of it. It's up to you to decide which one's the better one. Everyone's got their opinion on that one. But yeah, there's there is so much to cover. There's so much to discuss. I could mention Babylon 5. I could mention Firefly. If you're a fan of Nathan Fillion, you go watch Firefly, along with the movie Serenity afterwards, because the show got canceled. But the movie finishes the story at least. Story behind that one in its own way. There's a lot to cover. There's a lot to jump in at. It's not a perfect list, but it is a recommendation. These projects here, these are all great shows, great movies, great games, just whatever. You get to decide what you want to watch. There's no right or wrong. Sci-fi as a concept is for everybody. It is themes that are both dark, but themes that are also hopeful. In many aspects, sci-fi is designed to warn us of a future that we potentially could have if we don't change our course now. But sci-fi also has aspects where it shows us a society that we could be if we were more united. Star Trek shows us a future of where we could be if we were able to, end our divisions. Whereas other universes like Warhammer 40,000 just show us what happens if we get united, but in the wrong way. For the wrong reasons. There's so many different themes. But again, it's for you to decide. But that's a bit about, what I suggest. That's a little bit of my recommendations. What are things you would recommend people watch if they're looking to get into sci-fi? Would you suggest some of the shows or movies or games that I've recommended? Or would you suggest something different? There's no right or wrong to any of this. This is my opinion. What's yours? And if you liked this video, if you liked the content and you want to see me talk more about sci-fi, please like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps me grow as a creator, and it helps me bring better content to you. But hey, stay kind, stay humble, and as always, I'll see you in the next video. May the Force be with you.